can at least consider what the data say about the current generation of music listeners versus our generation. In other words, people who are roughly the age of 20, give or take 5 to 10 years, versus people who are the age of 40, give or take 5 or 10 years. Adrian North and his colleagues in England, Hargreaves and others, and here at McGill, there have been some studies, survey studies, where you ask people, how do you use music in your everyday life? How often do you listen? What kind of music do you listen to? Some of these studies are these diary studies where the people, armies of people carry around pagers, and the pager goes off at some random time, and you have to write down what you're listening to, whether it's music that you chose or that's just sort of in the air and that you're being forced to listen to, for lack of a better word. And it turns out that people today, generally speaking, seem to know less about the music that they listen to. They don't tend to know the names of the groups necessarily, or the names of the members of the groups. They still know what they like, but they tend to know less about who's involved in the making of it. They know less about where it came from. The other thing that we see in a number of studies is that people use music more today, and I'm talking about general trends. I don't mean to imply that everybody is like this down to the last person. It's just a general trend, and it's just based on a dozen studies or so, which may or may not reflect the real world. So with those caveats in place, people generally use music more like sonic wallpaper. It's a background to their lives. In the 60s and for much of the 70s, it wouldn't be unheard of for somebody to sit in a dark room with the lights out and the stereo on and just sort of listen and do nothing else.